Hello again, and welcome to another one of my videos where I talk about the stuff that's in my stash. Now, this one is a very quick follow-on to the earlier video that I did on the Martin B-57B Canberra. This one is also from Italeri, and it is also in 72 scale, but it's of the B-57G Nighthawk. Now, I was asking myself maybe I should just combine it with the Canberra review, but I think this thing is significantly different enough that it warrants its own video. Okay, as you can tell from the box art, the aircraft is different. Okay, well, it's different in many respects. The kit itself, of course, comes in the newer Italeri boxing, where there is a little bit of yellow on the outside, and then you have a much more, I suppose, dramatic image compared to the other kit. The yellow continues here, and I think it's yellow for some and then it's blue for others. I've seen blues before. Okay, in fact, I've got a couple of blues lying around. So but the structure, the layout remains pretty much the same. You've got some wordings here, and then Japanese, Chinese, barcode now, and then you've got, that's the box end, okay, and a repeat of the box art on the edge, and then this. Now, what does it say? Its sensors made the B-57G a deadly adversary. The plane could effectively operate at night or during inclement weather conditions. The B-57G performed well during operations and were well liked by their crews. Okay. The nose housed a low light level television, LLL TV. First Nighthawks were used in Thailand and Vietnam. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the intruders, the Canberras, were used, and this aircraft, of course, the Nighthawk, they were used to interdict the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Okay, which is why they needed all these sensors to pick up movement at night along the trail. Okay. The box art shows LGBs, laser guided bombs, and a Southeast Asia camouflage. So let's have a look inside. Okay. Okay, so straight up, I think the decal sheet has not fared as well as the other one. In fact, the protective sheet feels pretty bad, actually. Can you see that? It's very crusty. Okay, and that's the state of the decal sheet. Now, the lettering itself remains white, as do the stars and bars. The white butt bits remain white, and at least it's in very good register. Okay, but it's basically yellowed, right? Everything else. So the question mark is whether or not the carrier film is also yellowed. It may well be that. Okay, we'll see whether we can salvage this. I think the glue has fallen off it. Let me just try and get the light to shine on that, so that, yeah, can you see? Patches have fallen off. Or maybe it's some kind of mold, I'm not sure. All right. Oh, wait. Let's check that. Ah, it's not printed by our friend's Cartograph. It is printed by Zanchetti. All right. Okay. No offense to Zanchetti, but maybe, yeah, Italeri should have stuck with Cartograph. Or maybe we can't blame them. I don't know. Now, Italeri instruction sheet for this kit, number 174. It shows the a built-up example of the Nighthawk, the B-57G, on the top. Okay, with a very nice camouflage pattern painted on. Okay, that looks very impressive, actually. All right. Okay, parts plan. I think it's pretty much the same. You know, we'll have a look, and it looks pretty much the same. Yeah. Okay, for the steps. Cockpit tab, I don't know. I would have thought that there would be a different setup for the RIO, the radar well, not the RIO, the weapon systems officer sitting in the back seat, because you've got LLL TVs, right? Low light level TVs. So you should surely have some kind of TV screen, but there doesn't seem to be anything. Maybe that little blank space right in the center there. But, well, okay. Now at now they don't go by pages, they go by step. So that was step 1, which is pretty much identical to the Canberra, the B-57 Canberra kit. Now then you look at this. Yeah. Step 2. Step 2 is where you suddenly build that. Now that's interesting. The way that Italeri would have you add on the variation that would change this aircraft into a B-57G is not to cut, right? Do they say cut? Or maybe there is a cut. Can you see that those dotted lines there? Where the arrow curves up and points at. Maybe I have to cut off that nose and then glue this thing on. Okay. Doesn't say. We'll have to look at the parts to see whether or not they are chamfered at this part here, so that they will sit snugly on the contours of the nose. Either that or you just have to chop it off. Okay. That does change the aircraft's profile tremendously, I would have thought. Then the rest of it's still the same. You have your air brakes, and then the nose wheel gear, and of course the nose wheel bay would have already been built up here and inside the fuselage. Now then you have the engines, the wings. Okay, these all look pretty much the same. The bombs all look the same too. I wonder about that. You know, I'm not sure that would have happened. But never mind. I mean, this is what they provided. If it were me, I probably would leave the bomb bay door open, closed, and just omit the bomb load. Okay. Now, the bombs, the exterior bombs. Now, look at the shape of the fuel tanks. I don't know whether they are the same. I think they look like as if they would be the same, at least from the picture here. Okay. Bomb shackles are there, but now and now the bombs are different, right? Because they're now LGBs. I need to see what the shape of the LGBs would be to see whether or not that works. Okay, and then you finally have that last stage at stage 7, which is the installation of the tail stabilizers with the correct anhedral angle and the undercarriage. Okay. Now, let's do the fun part. First up, let's look at the let's look at the transparency. Looks very good. There's an additional part now here. Can you see that? That's for the low light TV cover. Okay, that's interesting. And then the canopy. Okay, no real difference from the Canberra model, and there's no little crack or line there now. Okay, that needs to go into a plastic bag. It just feels very, very fine to the hand. Now, the plastic is in green. Okay, greenish hue, and I suspect it's because, oh, wait a minute, where is the I didn't show you this. Those are the color schemes. 442nd CCTS. Both aircraft are from there. One is the TRW, 8th TRW, and then is the first TFW. But basically the same kind of camouflage pattern. Southeast Asia, greens, dark greens and black over the and tan, sorry, and over the undersurface, which is flat black. Okay, so overall flat black on the bottom, Southeast Asia camouflage on the top. You notice how the front end looks very different now, right? Because of the addition of that longer nose and the LLL TVs. Okay, so that's the plane, the fuselage, all right, and then you will see raised panel lines, fine, and then that, okay. How would it fit? Oh, can you see that? I mentioned that just now, right? Can you see how that is chamfered? You don't have to cut the nose off. It just slips on. That's very interesting. I think other kit manufacturers would have just simply said chop the nose off and stick that bit on, right? But no, this one is chamfered like that. It's almost like as if Italeri is saying, well, that's how they did it in real life, so we're going to do that in this kit form as well. Interesting. That's the nose wheel. This looks a bit more disappointing because it's got punch-out marks on it. Or maybe that's because I was looking at the inside, is it? Yeah, that's the outside. Okay. Nice. And the engine faces are there. Okay. Now, the LGBs. That's not bad, actually. Okay, seeker head and everything else is there on one side, and then you have the bomb body on the other side. But the wings, the winglets on all they're commendably thin. They're actually quite not bad. And you have yeah, it's not bad actually, right? Now, yeah, I tilted that so you could see it in better light, but there you are. Okay. Then you have the pylons, and then you have that load of US style World War II US style bombs. Okay. Again, I'm not sure that that's what would have been carried by the intruder. I would have thought that the belly would have been filled with maybe an additional fuel tank, but then you've got the wing tanks, right? So okay, which brings me to this, the last sprue, well, the second sprue. So the wing tanks are exactly the same again, okay, and the wings, well, they look exactly the same again. Very nice, very fine raised panel lines. Okay, that beautiful closed in wheel well is still there, right? No change. The gun ports are still here, but I don't recall seeing any instructions with a gigantic scissors requiring you to drill them out. Maybe there are no gun ports anymore, is it? No, there you are. Still there. Still gotta drill them out. Okay. Okay. Yep, and the undercarriage doors are still here. Plastic wise, I think you can begin to see what I mean by plastic quality. Can you see that? Okay. That's not really as nice, right? I don't know. Like that here, for example. Maybe even a hint of a sink mark there. Okay. Those are nice the carriage doors, actually. That is still very nice and thin. Okay. Okay, so anyway, that's your B-57G kit. I just want to do something here. It looks all good. That's a very interesting way of doing that. And I think I for one would be very fascinated to see how that works out. Now I'm going to do something here because I wanted to go and see if they're using the same sprues, more or less, like this here, right? Then what was inside the Canberra kit? Or was it just left as a blank space? And the answer is... you see, what Italeri did was that they modified the molds. Okay? What used to be... Can you see that? Okay? So what used to be the area for the exterior bombs, the rockets for the Night Intruder version, those were all taken away and replaced with the LLL TV, okay, those bits and bumps that go with the B-57G, including that nose probe, and the LGBs. Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I would have thought that, rather than go through all that effort to mess with this mold, you would have just simply molded this as a separate mold and just thrown it in with the kit. Yeah, but then again, of course, I'm not a kit designer, so what would I know, right? So that's the B-57G kit. I'm going to have to put this into a bag and that into a bag, and hopefully it gets better. And then let me see. Finish off by saying that it's an incremental but a significant incremental change over the original B-57B kit, and I think Italeri has come up with some unusual engineering changes. That way of doing the nose, right? That's interesting. I want to see how that works out. Happy to build a kit just to go and find out, man. Nicely shaped LGBs. Deco sheet, I suppose, yeah, bit of a mess, but we'll see how that works out. But apart from that, it's a solid basic kit, and the base kit itself is quite solid. That's what I'm trying to say. And the again, I like that. Okay, a Canberra with a proper tandem seat arrangement. I think that's really, really nice. Okay. I suppose it all remains for me to do is to end here and to say thank you very much for joining me. I think this was very, very informative and very enjoyable. Being able to do both fairly close up. So both videos will be put up very quickly. And thank you very much for joining me. I had great fun. I think you can tell, as usual, that I do have a lot of fun when I do these videos. Nothing much to disappoint except for the decals, but again, kind of expected it, right? Given the age of the kit. Until my next video, do stay safe. Watch out for the knife blades. I always say that. Spray paint. Do any kind of painting in a well-ventilated location. And please, no naked flames close to any solvents. Okay. And finally, please do have fun. Whatever it is you're doing, just have fun. If it's not fun, then just don't do it. I can't imagine that anything related to this hobby can be unfun. Even building a difficult kit, that has got to be the fun, right? Clearly, fixing problems and everything else, and making the model work, and fighting it and just winning at the end, So I've always said I really don't think there's such a thing as a bad kit. There are some examples of really challenging kits, or kits where you look at it and you say, do I really want to put in that kind of effort? But by and large, I think every kit deserves a chance at the workbench. Okay? And maybe it's not your season to do that particular kit right now, but maybe next week, next month, next year, you might just want to do it. And then hopefully you've hung on to that so-called bad kit. Okay, thank you very much, and I will talk to you again and show you more stuff again very soon.